Welcome to episode 4. Today's episode, we're going to be finding out what happened to us after we got busted by the Greek cops on the ferry and coming over from Italy, as well as what to do or what we did for 2 days in Athens, as well as going to Crete and Rhodes. So far, Casey and I, who's my friend who I left with, whose trip it was, who somehow talked me into going on it, we've traveled now about 1,500 miles, just under, on our 30,000 mile road trip to Africa. And then today's episode will be covering another 1,000 miles. All right, so let's pick up where we left off on the last episode. If you haven't heard that yet or caught that yet, then I really recommend going back, probably just episode 1, so you get the backstory and the whole jazz, so you come on the trip the whole way. Another reminder, this was in 1993, so before the internet, cell phones, Google Maps. When traveling really meant you're traveling on your own. All right, so as you may or may not know, we got the ferry from Brindisi, Italy to Patras, Greece, on our way to Athens. So we had a beautiful night's sleep, probably the best we had so far. And we've probably been on the road at this point about 10, 11 days or so. But on our way out, after I think we were on the ferry for like 11 hours, we got busted by some Greek dude. I think he might have been the captain. I don't know. And also it was in January, so it was very off season as well and very cold. So he starts shouting at us, "What are you doing in first class? You'll have a second class ticket, blah, blah." And we honestly didn't know. We were like, "Sorry, we really didn't know that, but hey, we're here now. Can we just go?" No. He's like, "Well, you owe me 9,000 drachmas," which of course drachmas don't even exist anymore, but it was about $45 at the time, which was like a full day budget for us pretty much. And I kind of called this bluff and I was like, "Well, then call the cops." We didn't know. It wasn't like the sign. Well, and they say it was all great to me. It really was. So, hey, so we dock and the cops come on board, confiscate our passports. We're like, "What?" And then saying, "We're not going to give them back to you until you pay this fine for the changes in ticket price." So we're like, "All right, so get out of traveler's checks." Again, I think they exist, but no one uses them anymore because no ATMs back in 1993 either. See how easy traveling's become these days? So as I'm writing my check, the Greek captain, he's just like, "Oh, I don't like your signature." I was like, because I don't know if it matched exactly my passport signature, but I've always had doctors writing. So I was like, "Well, it's me. There's my there's my name, passport, No, I don't like it." So I was just like, "Well, just stick it up your ass." Because that's what, and he was like, well, he just lost his mind. And the cops didn't speak any English. So he starts, telling the cops who knows what, I'm sure much, much worse than what actually had happened. So then I tried to backtrack and I was like, "No, I said this will be your last, as in last check I'm writing you." No, right. So the cops are like, "Right, we're arresting." Well, he tells us, the cops said, "We're arresting you for swearing." I was like, "Yeah, but ass means donkey." Didn't work. Oh my gosh. So we get hauled to the police station. Casey, they literally went through Casey's bag. I think they opened mine. That was it. But they took everything out of Casey's bag, just went through the whole thing. Finally accepted our checks, got our passports back, and then of course we have to walk at least a kilometer back to the harbor in order to get a bus to get to Athens. So we did that. We get on the bus, and then Casey's like, "Oh, I think we got to Athens." It was a few hours. So we get to Athens. It's really cold. We're walking around, And Athens, like, it's huge city. Even back then, it was like 4 million people. But it was so polluted. Like, oh, I just remember it was so hard to breathe. It was so polluted. Anyways, we finally, find a hotel. It's been a super long day. Grab something to eat. And then just as we're getting ready, to go get to sleep kind of thing, Casey's like, oh, shit. I've I've left my camera and my Swiss Army knife on the ferry. I was like, oh, what the, Casey, what are you like? So basically, that ended up being a very costly ferry. Thank goodness we at least got a good night's sleep out of it. But so no camera or Swiss Army knife for Case. Anyway, so the next morning we hit the town of Athens because we have no money, and again we have to change traveler's checks, and you can only do that at banks. Some posh hotels, but they charge you more for like fees, whatever. So we're traipsing all through Athens, finally find one bank that's open. So we get some money. And then we're like, okay, let's just get to the Acropolis. Now, the Acropolis is like in the city center of Athens. And it's set on this, like, I guess, the limestone hill. So you can see it everywhere from Athens. So we walked there, and I guess nowadays, I don't know if they were pedestrian back then. I don't think they were, because that's probably why it was more like so polluted. But now they're pedestrianized. So there's two main roads you can walk up to get up there. And I guess the Acropolis, like from like 4,000 to 3,000 BC, they reckon like people lived there. So it was used for many, many years, thousands and thousands of years. But I guess the Acropolis was something like 540 BC. But the Delphic oracle, she proclaimed the Acropolis was only going to be for gods. So then the Parthenon, it was built to honor Athena, who was the patron of Athens. So that was around, because it got destroyed by the Persians in 480 BC, I believe. And so that's where they rebuilt it from then on, basically, to what it is now. And at the time, it was apparently like the most beautiful structure, temple in ancient Greece. So it still is the most preserved, or definitely most preserved and well known of the Greek dynasties, kind of thing. So so you walk up and you come up through the archway, which is very impressive, and then you get up to the Parthenon. And it's just, again, mind-blowing, especially for two Canadians who don't have much, especially at the time, for history, like for historical or old buildings kind of thing, coming from Canada. So we spent a few hours up there. And if you want a little tip, there's a Greek flag, and go there, and that's kind of the best views of the Parthenon from up there, but also of all of Athens. Like I said, Athens is huge. It's like 4 million people back then, so it's, I'm sure, bigger now. And then there's two like amphitheaters. So the Theater of Dionysus is the older one, and that's on the southern slope. And then there's a slightly younger one, which is, I think, built in 161 AD, which can still seat 5,000 people. And that's the Odeon of Herodes Atticus. So then when you're coming down, you could go to the Acropolis Museum, which is what we did as well. So there's lots of cool stuff in there. And I guess with all of the original parts of the Acropolis are now being moved into that museum, as well as, I guess, now that's why they're still doing, like, rebuilding it and stuff like that, because they're replacing it, not the original. Keep that preserved, I suppose. Anyway, so after the museum, we head back into Athens, grab a bite to eat, a couple of beers, Amstel beers, and we bumped into this American guy, Dave, who we kind of kept bumping into since Brindisi, Italy. So I had a couple of beers with him. Hit the hay. We'd asked to exchange rooms because our room on our first night, there was no heat. Again, like, no heat on the ferry, so or trains in Europe in January. I don't know why, but there wasn't. So we're like, can we have a different room that has heat? And they're like, okay, yeah, sure, moved us. That didn't have heat either. So we were freezing, so not a great night's sleep. So anyways, the second day we decide, okay, let's go see the Temple of Olympian Zeus. So we walked through the, I think it's called the National Gardens, which is pretty. So we walked through there to get to the Zeus Temple. And of course, being us, we got there like 10 minutes before it closed. I don't know what we do. That happens to us a lot. But yeah, I walked around there, which was really cool. And it was just amazing. So there's about 15 columns left now. But when they built it, like they wanted it to be the biggest temple in the world. Whether it was or not, I'm not sure. But right now, there's only about 15 columns left. But it was really amazing to think, because no concrete was used, right? So they cut the marble in such precision and just stacked it. And there, when I was there, I'm not sure if it's still there. I imagine so. But there was one column that had fallen. It was just like in domino effect, so you could see the different pieces of marble. But it's incredible that over, 2,000 years, that even 15 columns are still standing. But yes, it was cool. And then we walked to Hadrian's Arch. And then behind Hadrian's Arch, I found this like 2-seater marble table. So I'm like, Case, come on, let's get a selfie. So it took me about 5 attempts to get us to this marble table, which then I think we got yelled at because A, we probably weren't supposed to do that, and B, they were closed. So, and unlike in Paris where we got locked in Le Père Lachaise cemetery, we didn't want to get locked in anywhere again. Anyway, and again, we had no idea what we were doing. Like basically, like where we were going from Athens. Like we want to get to Africa. That's all we knew. Our American guy, we bump into him again, and he's like, "Well, maybe you should go to Crete." And we're like, "Okay, like we can do that." So we went back and got a taxi with Dave to Piraeus, is where you get the ferries to Crete and probably other islands. But remember, January, so not a lot were running. So we get back to, so we get to Piraeus, and there was a ferry leaving that night at 11 p.m. to Crete. So like, great, got tickets for that. Didn't go in any compartments, no first class. Didn't have any even seats basically. But so there's like a bar and restaurant, which is great. So we ended up having a few beers. And then I just pulled out my sleeping bag and laid in the restaurant floor. But there were other people doing it too. It wasn't just me. But then the weather changed. So it was quite really rainy and quite windy. So it was pretty rocky. But I don't know, maybe those beers, I just slept till 6 a.m. But I guess Casey and Dave didn't sleep at all or hardly at all, which is rare. I'm not a great sleeper, so that was quite a rare thing. So, so we docked. Casey and I get to Heraklion, which is the capital of Crete. Again, with no idea what we're doing. We're like, okay. The weather was absolutely crap. Like I said, rainy and cold still. So Dave is like, well, I'm going to Matala. If you guys want to come, we can go get a taxi to the bus together. And we're like, no idea what that is, where it is, but okay, sure, we'll go. So it was only a couple hours bus ride. I think it's about 70K south of Heraklion. Not sure on the south. Could be east. I don't know. It's about a 2-hour bus ride, put it that way. So we get there and it's like, oh my God, we are in bum beep Greek town. What? There's nothing here. Nothing's open. It's very, very tiny. And like I said, in January, crappy weather, we find one little restaurant that's open. He decided to take off. He's like, well, I've heard about these caves, so I'm going to go try and find the caves. And Casey and I were cold and hungry. So we're like, okay, well, we're going to go in this little tiny restaurant and see if they have any food, which, not much, put it that way. So again, we're like, what are we doing? So we decided, so we had something to eat and some cups of tea, and We're like, let's just dump our bags here and go find these caves and just check those out. Because there was not, I don't think there was anywhere to stay anyway. So I don't think we really had too much of a choice. Or if there was one, I think one place, like, or that bar, that restaurant said they had 2 rooms and they might be able to rent us out of one room, but they wanted like extremely, like a lot of money for it. And we're like, okay, let's go check out the caves. So we walk along. It was so windy, and I have windophobia, so I really don't like the wind. I don't know if windophobia is a thing, but I don't like really strong wind. It freaks me out. So almost being blown away and trying not to have a panic attack. Come to this beautiful, it's actually a beautiful beach, really lovely sandy beach, kind of like a cove. And then, yeah, and you just see all these caves like from limestone, and there's some big ones, and then there's like smaller ones, and yeah, it was cool. And so we walk up there, climb up there, and in the cave, the wind's gone. Like it's like, oh wow, this is actually quite nice. So I think we're like, okay, Dave, do you mind if we share your cave? Because it was quite big too. He's like, yeah, sure. So we walk back, get our bags, and then come back, kind of get set up, our sleeping bags out and everything like that. And yeah, it was actually really, really nice. And it, like I said, it had stopped raining, but it was still quite windy, but not too bad in the cave. So then we went back into town a little bit later, grabbed some dinner, had a couple of beers, and then came back to the caves. We had a bonfire in the cave. It was just so cool. I was just thinking like how old are these caves? Like we had no idea the history of them or anything like that. So I've looked up today, even now after all these years, I never even looked it up. Yeah, they're from, again, yeah, thousands of years ago, and some of them were used for cremation, some of them were homes, like people lived in them. But it was in the 60s, 70s that the hippies kind of took over that part. And I mean, even like Joni Mitchell was there, Bob Dylan, Joan Baez. Yeah, it was, I guess it was a really big hippie commune in the 60s and 70s, and people just hung out in the caves and peace and loved. But then the Greek government, I guess they were quite strict in the 70s, and they kicked them all out. So nowadays you can't sleep in the caves anymore. So I think you can go visit them. They're more now an archaeological site, but no more sleeping in the caves. I'm sorry. I really so wish, that was one of my regrets, to have a thermarest. I didn't have one of those, and oh, I wished I had one of those many times throughout that trip. Casey did, which was really annoying. So I just had my sleeping bag and sleeping on a rock floor, like no tent or anything, like just not great. And it was, like I said, it was quite cold. So the chill just went through my bones. Although I did meet my little friend. I met a 3-legged cat, very sweet, orange and white cat, who I named Poseidon. And he just followed me around for 2 days. Like, he was so cute and slept in the caves with us and everything. So at least I had Poseidon. The next day, it was sunny. It was like, oh my gosh, it's great. So I kind of got up on the rocks, like right at the very top of the cliff, and just laid in the sun, which was really nice. Even though I was like wearing 2 tops, jacket, jeans, and pair of tights, still cold. It was nice to get this out of my face. Yeah, and then we went back, had something to eat, and then that night we had a massive bonfire in the caves. And it was just, yeah, incredible. Just like I said, like thinking back of how many people have stayed in this cave or what went on in it. And yeah, it was beautiful. And it was also a full moon that night. So the moon was actually casting shadows and just looking over the sea. And it was our 2-week anniversary there too. Yeah, I still remember it so well. It was a really magical little moment. And also it was really nice to get out of the big cities for a break, just 2 days in the wilderness, and hey, living in a cave is pretty cool. So we decided to leave the next day. So like I said, we had 2 nights there. So we get back on the bus, back to Heraklion, the capital of Crete. And the weather, like, oh, I really hated Heraklion. Sorry, any Heraklions out there. But just, we're not, like, the weather was crap again. Like when we got there, it was just really cold, really windy, really raining. We went to the ferry station, the port, and we waited there for 4 hours. And then they were like, because you have to get the ferry that comes from Athens to Crete, because then we decided well, actually, we found out because we wanted to go from Crete to Turkey. Then we found out no, because it's January, there was no ferries going to Turkey at all. So then we thought, well, what about Rhodes? Because it's only 10 miles from Turkey. So surely there'd be something going from there, right? And we didn't really want to go back to Athens and then have like, we didn't know what we were going to do. If we had to go back to Athens, like maybe I'll have to go all right around the top by land to Turkey. I don't know. So we just took a gamble. We're like, okay, we're going to go to Rhodes. So like I said, so we're waiting 4 hours and then for the ferry to come from Athens. No, no ferries are leaving Athens because the weather's too bad. So we had to spend another night in Heraklion in the pissing cold weather. And then we find a hotel. That's when I realize I've lost my sleeping bag. See, Greece was not good to us. I'm like oh my God, I'm so pissed off with myself because I either left it on the bus from the caves or one of the taxis that we took from the bus station. I was so annoyed with myself because it was a nice, compact little sleeping bag, but still warm. So yeah, so we were not having any luck in Greece, really. The caves were great, but that's about it. So the next morning, we walk around, I go to the bus station, I go to the taxis. If anyone's turning my sleeping bag, no. So then we hit the market. We buy a gas stove, and I found it, but it was a lot bigger. It was like 2 or 3 times the size of mine when it was packed up. But I found another sleeping bag for another $50. So I just was not happy. And the thought of what we might have to stay at Heraklion another night. Yeah, we're not in the best moods. Anyways, but so we go to the port and they're like, no, the boat is going to leave, the ferry is going to leave Athens. So it should be here by about 7 p.m. Oh, so at least some good news. We're like, all right, we can get the hell out of Crete. So the ferry didn't come to about 8:30, but anyways, we got on it. Yeah, bought our tickets to Rhodes. Again, same kind of situation, just slightly, same kind of thing, bar, restaurant. But then the weather just came. Like once we set sail, the weather just got really, really, really bad. Like I thought we were going to be in a hurricane or something. It was ridiculous. I almost puked several times because it was so wavy. Like it was ridiculous. I was in my sleeping bag and I was being rolled like from one side of the bar to another. I'm like, this is ridiculous. There were people puking left, right, and center. Oh my God. So I ended up taking like 2 long tables and flipping them on their sides and kind of enclosing myself in a corner. So at least I wouldn't be rolling like 50 feet. Oh gosh. So we didn't get much sleep that night. So we got to Rhodes at about, I think it was about 6 or 7 in the morning. Oh, but I loved Rhodes, I have to say. Rhodes is so pretty. Like you come into the harbor and it's like white walled kind of castle. There's a castle there actually, and then the whole town is walled and it's white and it's beautiful, and like there's palm trees and there's a lighthouse and some windmills, and it was just like and the sun came out. It was like what? So yeah, so happy days. And then we were like, okay, you know what? We're finally going to get to do what I originally was wanting to do before I got talked into this trip. We're going to do some yacht hopping. Especially after we found out that it was $50 departure tax and then $25 for the ferry to go 10 miles. I'm like, that's ridiculous. So we dump our bags and then just go to the harbor and just start looking for what looks like nice people on their boats. And we met this British couple. They're about middle age, and they were really sweet. So we're chatting to them. I'm like, oh, my dad's English. I'm half English, blah, blah. And so we tell them, like, is there any way we could get to Marmaris, Turkey? It's only 10 miles. Do you know anyone that might be going or willing to take us? And they're like, well, we might actually. So come back later in the day. So we're like, okay, cool. So yeah, we walked around the old town, which, like I said, it's really pretty. It's cobblestones and like all white. And we even found reindeers. Like, it was weird, but real live reindeers were in Rhodes. So yes, we grabbed some probably some kebabs or something like that, and then went back to find the British couple, and they had found an American couple with this Aussie chick, Faye. She was on their boat too. I don't know if she's working there for the summer or something like that. So they had agreed. They said, okay, we'll take you to Marmara's tomorrow for $30 US each. We're like, that's awesome. Cool. I mean, it's better than $75 each, and we get to go on a private boat. So, yeah, they're like, okay, we'll set sail around 9 a.m. So get here before that, and we're good to go. So we did that. We found a hotel, crashed, got there about 8:30, and set sail at about 9. And it was a beautiful summer, or no, it wasn't summer, still, I think it's February 1st by now. But it was beautiful and sunny and blue skies and no wind. Oh, it was lovely. Yeah, so that was about a couple of hours, and we chatted with them, and I was like, oh, I can really get into like being a boater. The boat lifestyle is pretty cool. And then we finally are leaving Greece. Woohoo! But you'll have to find out next episode what happens in Turkey. So see you next Thursday. But of course, before we go, you know what time it is. It's time for Tam's Top Tips. Okay, so my 3 tips for Greece or Athens. So for Athens, I would definitely get, you can get a combo pass, which is good for 5 days, and you can go to like 7. So basically for 30 euros, you can go to the Acropolis, Ancient Agora, Roman Agora, the Hadrian's Library, Temple of Olympian Zeus, Keramakiosa, and Aristotle's School. And you have 5 days to do all that. I mean, like I said, 2 days is plenty for Athens, to be honest. If not, then it's, depending on when you go, winter or summer, it's either 20 euros for the Parthenon, or in the summer, 20 euros, or winter, 10 euros. So it does work out better for the 30 combo if you're seeing more than that. Obviously, come over to my website. I am still under construction, but there'll be a blog post with more, like, if you wanted a guide. You don't need a guide personally, but if you wanted a guide, cool. You learn more about the history and also how to get the combo passes, like where to go, the best place to get them. And you also, the good thing about that, you get to jump the queue. So that's tip number 1. And I, like, as always, for any European cities, go in the off season, or at least the shoulder seasons of spring and autumn. Too many people otherwise, and too hot. So tip number 2 is, yes, for the Acropolis, I would suggest going either for sunset, because it's open till 8 p.m. The doors close at 7:30. It closes at 7:30, but it's open till 8. So probably get there around 6 p.m. would be nice. Or go when it first opens at 8 in the morning. Whatever you do, don't go midday. It's just way too hot, especially in the summer. You'll just melt, and loads of people and tour buses and that. So like I said, go early or go later. And tip number 3 is do your yacht hopping around the islands. Like, I highly recommend that. You get to meet people. You might have to pay or work or whatever, but that's cool. Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't mind seeing some more of the Greek islands, to be honest. But Rhodes, I loved Rhodes. So yeah. And then for solo female travelers, didn't, again, have any issues except for the cops, obviously, at one time. But yeah, felt safe. And even in the caves, yes, I was seen with 2 guys in there. But I think even if I would have been on my own, because there was nobody there in the whole town, so I would have been fine as well. But just use your common sense, like in Athens, there's dodgy neighborhoods like any big city. And if you're concerned at night, just grab an Uber or a taxi. Okay, so until next Thursday, where we're going to be in a new country and a new continent, Turkey, which I love Turkey. But yeah, so, and if please, download, subscribe, and leave me a rating would be awesome, or a review, whatever, or comment like, hey, if you ever met me on any of my trips, give me a shout out. It'd be great to say hi. And like I said, you can get to the website, maryrosetravel.com, but you'll find more details about 2-day Athens itinerary, say. Okay, I think that's it. So until next time, Safe travels, one road at a time.